When Anthony Gibbons joined a Sunday Morning Kickabout, he didn't imagine it would lead to being David Beckham's body double. But it turns out playing in the world's smallest league is a less predictable experience than it first appears. Advertisement. Isles of Scilly. Runaway cows and visits from Beckham, life in the world's littlest league. By Chris Evans, BBC Sport. Last updated on less than a minute ago, from the section Football. The Isles of Scilly Football League used to consist of 4 teams before the 1950s, but is now contested by the Woolpack Wanderers and Garrison Gunners, seen here in 2017. When Anthony Gibbons joined a Sunday Morning Kickabout, he didn't imagine it would lead to being David Beckham's body double. But it turns out playing in the world's smallest league is a less predictable experience than it first appears. Advertisement. The Isles of Scilly Football League consists of just 2 teams, the Woolpack Wanderers and Garrison Gunners. Not only do the sides face off in 18 league games each season, but they also compete in 2 annual cup competitions, both 2-legged affairs with no away goals rule, and a Charity Shield-style exhibition. The duopoly makes it the smallest league of its kind in the world. Technically it is an inter-club league, because both teams are registered to St. Mary's, a club on the eponymously titled island in the archipelago off the Cornish coast. That footnote hasn't stopped global attention and a slew of star visitors though, including the day Beckham swapped Los Angeles Galaxy for the remoteness of the Isles, and Gibbons swapped in to fill the former England captain's boots. That's my claim to fame, says Gibbons. But being part of a uniquely familiar rivalry runs it close. It didn't used to be like this. Before the 1950s, there were 4 teams vying for glory and silverware. But an aging, dwindling population has put the league under pressure. Between 2011 and 2021, the number of people on the Isles of Scilly fell by 6.8%. The median age of those remaining rose from 46 to 50 years old over the same period. Now, only the Wanderers and Gunners remain. Weather permitting, the 2 sides do battle every Sunday morning between October and Easter on the same pitch with the same players in the same kit. It's considered to be a bit ridiculous and like the old cliché of, "Can we play you every week?" explains Will Lethbridge, who grew up on the islands and has played in the league for several years. People ask if it gets a bit boring and if it's repetitive, but it's good to have a run around and it's good fun. A large number of us are friends and have known each other since school, so it's very much the social side as much as a bit of sporting competition. You do know certain players well, which is their favorite foot, if they like to cut in and turn, what their strengths and weaknesses are, but there have been a few slightly testy tackles too. There have been a few more yellow cards this year and there's the odd confrontation, so there is some competition and a bit of needle, but there are no long-standing rivalries or punch-ups or anything like that. It's all pretty much forgiven by the time the final whistle goes. To keep things fresh, no player has a preordained team at the start of every season. Instead, the 2 captains for that year pick new squads just as schoolchildren do on the playground, taking it in turns until there are no players left. The order of the selections are kept secret to avoid letting the last picks know when they were chosen. After all, with only 2,100 residents on the islands, the league can hardly risk putting any players' noses out of joint. Changing the sides each year mean most players have no special affinity to one of the 2 teams, although Lethbridge says there are some superstitious stalwarts who claim to perform better for one rather than the other.